This day, Azerbaijan celebrates the 103rd anniversary of their beloved composer Garayev. He was born in February 1918 in the city Baku, capital of Azerbaijan, city full of sun, the sound and smell of sea, multilingual, multi-ethnic city, which Garayev called unique multi-voiced symphony. Azerbaijan lies on the intersection of East and West. In fact, many East and many West. It relates to the culture of Turkey and Iran. It led the path of the Marco Polo to China. And from the beginning of 19th century, it was a part of Russian Empire and then Soviet Union until the end of the 20th century. The family of Garayev reflects that. His father was a distinguished doctor who loved mugam, the native improvised music of Azerbaijan. His mother, Sona Hanum, was a mature pianist who played waltzes and polkas and polonaises. The professional composing school began in Azerbaijan about 110 years ago, marked by unique performance, premiere of the first Azerbaijani, in fact, first Muslim opera called Leyli and Mejnun by Azerbaijani native Uzir Hajibiev, who combined oral culture with the composed music, who wrote partly orchestrated and partly improvised score. Uzir Hajibiev was not only a great composer, but he was also a teacher and the founder of the Azerbaijani Conservatory, which Garayev joined in mid-1930s. By the late 30s, a young man joined Moscow Conservatory, where he became a student of Shostakovich. Dmitry Shostakovich immediately recognized his talent. He wrote, "Garayev has a great and brilliant talent, which is highly developed. He's extremely knowledgeable about instrumentation, polyphony, and the other components to make up music. He surely has a great future." Years later, Shostakovich actually refused to consider him a student, telling, "I'm not that presumptuous to use an expression, my student," when talking about the great Soviet composer such as Garayev. His musical talent coincided with great intellectual curiosity and intellect. He read Byron, Omar Khayyam, Rumi and Pushkin, Shakespeare and Balzac. He worked in many musical genres, ranging from piano compositions to the film scores, ballet, opera, symphony, and symphonic poems. He used traditional composing technique and modern technique, serial, and so on, along with jazz, in expressing what was extremely dear to him. It's a native voice, native musical lyricism of Azerbaijan. I'm going to talk about two compositions. In 1947, when he returned to Azerbaijan, he created, following the steps of his teacher, a symphonic poem, Leyli and Mejnun. It's a story that was written by Persian poets Ferdowsi and Nizami. It's a poem about ill-fated love of a young, beautiful Leyli and poor poet Mejnun. Mejnun, the family, very much like in Romeo and Juliet, separate beloved. Mejnun becomes mad, lost in the forest. He's attained the voices of the birds and animals, losing the contact with humans. He becomes what is considered to be in Eastern poetic lore a Sufi, quintessential Sufi mystic. Leyli, married to other, dies of broken heart, and Mejnun dies at her grave. This is not a love story of beauty and happiness, but a profoundly Sufi story that Garayev embraces in his symphonic poem. He said that he doesn't want to follow the plot line, but expresses emotional challenge of this tale. I want you to listen a small excerpt from this symphonic poem, which consists and develops three main themes. One is a fate, in which strings beginning joined by the solo of horn. Then the theme of the conflict, very contested, low in brass theme, and then final kind of weak theme of love that expands through the symphonic poem but dimmed at the end. I'm just gonna let you listen to a very beginning of the symphonic poem. As you can see, dramatism is very much at the heart of this composition. After composing this symphonic poem in 1947, he, 2 years later, creates the symphonic poem called Seven Beauties. Both Leyli and Mejnun and Seven Beauties are part of the cycle of 5 long narrative poems by Nizami, greatest Persian poet of 12th century, who was born and lived all his life in a city that is now current Azerbaijan, Ganja, Nizami Ganjevi. Seven Beauties is another story of love. Love consuming, obsessing, defining the characters. Also tragic love, because this poem, like Leyli and Mejnun, involves love, loss, drama. Here, the plot line deals with the Shah, Iranian Shah, Bahram Shah, and a beautiful young girl, village girl, Aisha. Shah is betrayed by his vizier, escaping to the ruined castle in the storm. He is finding himself before the tapestry with 7 female, young dancing females. In his imaginations, in Bahram imagination, they all become alive. And so the plot is very contested and very difficult, complex, and unfolding. Garayev also tuned it into the contemporary issues in the Soviet Union. 7 beautiful girls turn into the laborers 2 years after he composed the symphonic poem, when he expanded and recreated symphonic poem in the full-fledged 4-act ballet. The language is very experimental, yet one has to recognize it also while retaining the character and lyricism of Nizami poem, and also language close, intimately connected with Azerbaijan. He also drew on the devices developed in a brilliant Russian ballet school, from Tchaikovsky to Stravinsky and to Prokofiev. It's also a beautiful challenge for composer to create 7 different ethnic beauties, because the 7 beauties are of different region. It's Indian, Byzantine, Persian, Slavic, Chinese, and so on. Perhaps every single child in Azerbaijan knows the theme of waltz from this symphonic poem and ballet. One dealing with both symphonic poems and ballet could look through this through the lenses of multiple times. The story of Seven Beauties is based upon legend of real historical Persian Shah Bahram, written by 12th century poet Nizami and adapted to the Soviet time in Azerbaijan by 20th century, mid-20th century composer who combines Western orchestra with Eastern sounds and the movements. There is more into this, both Leyli and Mejnun and the Seven Beauties. There is more into this. Seven Beauty, the number itself, also multi-region maidens, each associated with the color, with planet, with the particular imagery, may bring one to the not only Sufism but also to Zoroastrianism, which is the early religion, contemporary of Judaism, that was born actually in Azerbaijan. So here, Garayev, in a very his own way, embraces multi-layered, complex concepts, embracing this through the lenses, through the sound of his very unique lyricism. The ballet got remarkable reception in the Soviet Union, indeed in Azerbaijan. It's still alive in repertoire in its own land and elsewhere. In 2014, it was produced in San Diego Opera House and was enjoyed by 3,000 member audience. In a couple of days, on February 9, the ballet Seven Beauties will be produced in Moscow for the anniversary of Garayev, and also approaching 880 years celebration of the Nizami. The recordings of ballet and symphonic poems are available actually in YouTube. There was also films made about this, and I certainly hope that this talk made you excited and curious about this, to look at YouTube and other devices to find the recordings, to see and to listen to this beautiful music. I want to end it with another musical fragment. It is the most beautiful, the seventh of the Seven Beauties. Please. The theme begins with oboe and then quickly expands with strings and joining by orchestra, soon reaching tutti. Mesmerizing, beautiful theme.